and welcome back to another episode of Tech Tips. I hope you've been enjoying the videos so far, and if you haven't seen them, check out our YouTube channel or Facebook page for all the other videos that we've done in this series. And today I want to talk to you about connecting two ropes together for use in abseiling. So the context for today's discussion would be we're at the top of the crag, we've got a 40-metre abseil and we've got two 50-metre ropes with us. So what we want to do is connect those two ropes together so that we can make one continuous abseil all the way to the bottom of the crag in one go. And that's the topic of today. We're going to look at a couple of different options on how to connect the rope together, and I'll also talk about my preferred method that I've used over and over again. And we'll also talk about knots that you shouldn't use, and in particular a knot that I've seen people use a few times, and a knot that is the contributing factor to a number of serious fatalities and accidents at the crag when abseiling. So we'll talk about that more at the end of this video. Okay, so let's talk about how to tie two ropes together. So first of all, I've got two ropes that are similar size. So this is a 9.8 and this is a 9.6. So they are very similar size. Now the UIAA recommends that you don't connect two ropes together for abseiling if you're going to abseil off both strands that are 0.6 mil difference between each other. Now for me, most of my ropes are always within that anyway when I'm working, but obviously you wouldn't want to tie a super skinny rope with a super fat rope because there's a possibility that the knot in this instance would roll, so just bear that in mind. I'm going to take my two ropes and I normally take around about from my shoulder to my fingers sort of length, so that sort of couple of foot. I'm going to tie an overhand knot. And I think it's important here to stress a neat overhand knot. So I take one overhand knot and then I stress both sections of that knot. So I'm going to pull on each strand separately and then I'm going to opposite pull them like so. So we've got an overhand and then we've got a large tail there. I'm then going to do another overhand knot. And I'm going to butt that right up against my other knot. So again, emphasis here is really on the neatness and having it well dressed. Pull both strands to make sure that it's nice and tight and nice and dressed. And there we have it. So that is my preferred method. So you can see the tails there are about 1.5 feet long, and I've got two overhand knots which are connected together, and they are butt up against each other so that they can't roll, and that's important. That's why we use the second knot, is just to make sure that it doesn't roll if it's under load. Okay, so now we've looked at the benefits of the overhand knot, we also need to look at the bad points as well. And the overhand knot does go by another name, which is the EDK, which is the European Death Knot. And it got that reputation because of a number of accidents that happen around the world where climbers accidentally abseiled off the end of the tails, which caused fatalities and serious injury. So we need to be aware of that. So when we're at the crag, we've obviously got our two main ropes that here that we want to abseil off, and the tails, I'll just pop the tails up and out the way just so that I don't run the risk of abseiling off the end of the tails. So I just want to make sure that I'm attached to this rope, which is my abseil rope, and not the tails. So it's important to stress that if you leave long tails, there's always the risk of you abseiling off them. So just put them out the way and that will solve that problem. Make sure as well that wherever you put them, they are releasable, so that when you're pulling the rope down from the bottom of the crag, they won't catch behind anything or trap behind anything. So just make sure that that's going to happen when you're at the bottom. So other methods of joining a rope together. Here we have the Double Fisherman's, which is popular abroad. I've seen this used quite a lot abroad, but not so much in the UK. The pros and cons to this are, first of all, when it tightens up, it is really, really hard to undo. And another situation is it's not a flat knot. So you'll see with a overhand knot, it's actually flat on the one side, which allows it to roll over or move through cracks or over edges quite easily. Whereas this, it's not a flat knot. So when it passes over edges, it can snag on the rock edge or in cracks or around by trees. So this knot it's quite common for this to catch. So another knot that I've seen used out on the crag is the Double Fisherman's knot, but with a reef knot in the middle. Now the principle behind this is the reef knot is supposed to stop the Double Fisherman's knot from over tightening onto itself and onto the other knot, so it makes it easier to undo. Now personally for me, there are 3 components to this that you need to get right. So you need to obviously get the Double Fisherman's done right there, and also threaded through with the reef knot correctly as well. So for me, potentially a little bit too much going on, and also it's quite bulky. And again, same as the Double Fisherman's, over edges, there's more chance of this catching into cracks or around trees or roots or that sort of stuff. So used around the world, but not one of my favourites. And I think this one you really need to weigh out the pros and cons as to whether just a flat overhand would be more suitable rather than going through all this complex detail for this knot. Figure of 8. So figure of 8 is normally associated with tying onto the rope, and because of that, people attribute that knot to being secure and to being safe. The downside to the knot is it's designed to be used in extremes, so end to end. When it's used in an abseiling context, it can roll. So basically when the knot comes under load like that, it can pull the knot apart. So never ever use a figure of 8 knot used in this method for abseiling. It has been the cause of a number of fatalities around the world, and it's definitely easy to roll. So it rolls over and it will roll off the end of the rope. So yeah, do not use this knot ever. So I hope you enjoyed today's video about using knots for abseiling. I think what we can take away from today's video is that abseiling is inherently a dangerous activity. So making sure that we use the appropriate knot and making sure that we use that knot in the way that it's meant to be used is the sort of the key thing to take away from today. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, The Mountaineering Company, or check out the website www.themountaineeringcompany.co.uk for more information about courses and events that we offer throughout the year.